Welcome to Maths Entry. This is Edexcel GCSE 3H 2024 November paper. Let's move on to the first question. The table shows information about the times in minutes 100 people took to complete a bike race. This is the table. On the grid below, draw a frequency polygon for this information. Now we need to draw a frequency polygon. When we are asked to draw a frequency polygon, we have to get the class midpoint, especially when we are given a frequency table related to class boundaries. Now we call this one a class boundary. This is a class boundary. So when a class boundary is given, how do we get a class midpoint? This is the way how we get class midpoint. When a class boundary is given to get class midpoint, you need to add the two class boundaries together and divide the two class boundaries by 2. So let's add the two class boundaries together. In this case, 120. So let's write class midpoint here. You have to have another column, class midpoint. Class midpoint 120 plus 140 divided by 2 in this case. So it's equal to, let's get the calculator, 120 plus 140 equals 260 divided by 2. It is 130. So in the first case, it is 130. Next one, 140 plus 160 divided by 2. Next one, 160 plus 180 divided by 2. 180 plus 200 divided by 2. Last one, 200 plus 220 divided by 2. So let's get the answers for these midpoints. You need to have the answers for these midpoints. Rather than the midpoints, you can plot, okay? Don't try to draw the bar graphs. It is wrong. Bar graph is not the one that is called frequency polygon. Frequency polygon is a line graph. Remember, frequency polygon is a line graph. Bar graph is the one we called a histogram. Okay, that's the difference between these two. So let's draw a frequency polygon. To draw the frequency polygon, you need to have the midpoint. That's the specialty of this one. So you have to get the midpoint. Exactly, you need to have the midpoint. So let's get the midpoint. 140 plus 160 divide by 2. Always divide by 2. That's why we call it midpoint. Exactly where they lie in the midpoint. So it is 150. So let's get 150. Next one. 160 plus 180 over 2 equals 170. So likewise, next one, 190. Next one, 210. So remember to get the midpoint for frequency polygon. So in statistics, in which cases do we need to get the midpoints? Remember, there are two cases that you have to deal with midpoints. Mean. The first one is mean, not the frequency density, because mean, you are having M, mean, midpoint. So it is easy to remember. MM for mean, midpoint. The other one is frequency polygon. There is no shortcut to remember this one. So today you have to remember it, frequency polygon, midpoint. So these are the two things that you have to deal with midpoints. It is not frequency density. It is mean, It is easy to keep it in your head because it starts with M. This is M. So mean, midpoint, frequency polygon, midpoint. It is not frequency density. So now we are having 130. Its frequency. So you can write it in this way, then it is easy. 130. So if I erase it in this way, the first one, 130 comma 12, the first coordinate. Second one, 150 and its frequency, which is 28. Second one, midpoint and its coordinate, which is 170 comma its frequency, which is 30. 190, its frequency, which is 22. 210, its frequency, which is 8. Let's plot them now. So the scale is easy, super easy, because one tiny square represents 1. This side, this 20 by, here there are 20. This one is 120. Then this one is 110. Right? Sorry, 130. This is 130. 140. Here 150. Likewise. Let's plot them now. 130 to 12. So here 110, 11, 12. After that 150, 28. 150, 20, 28 here. Because 1 by 1. This side is easy. 1 by 1. 170, here. 170, 30. 170 is here. 30, here. Next one, 190, which is here. 190, 22. 20, 20, 21, 22 here. Next one, 210. 210 is here. And then 8. 8 is here. Then don't draw it as a curve. Frequency polygon. We know that polygon is a straight line one, bounded by straight line. Therefore, you have to join by straight line. So let's join it by straight line. So from point to point, you have to join it. That's it. So I'm joining. So we are done. Don't try to join it to the x-axis. Just keep it like this. You are getting full marks. Question 2, part A. Write 3.402 in 10 to the power of 5 as an ordinary number. When writing any number as an ordinary number, it means you have to write it as a lengthiest number or extended number. You have to multiply them and write the answer straight away. So you can straight away use the calculator since this power is a smallest power. If it is a lengthiest power, you have to do it manually. So let's use the calculator straight away. 3.402 into 10 to the power of 5 equals 340,200. So let's straight away write the answer. 300. This is the answer. 340,200. Next, part B. Write 0.8026 in standard form. When writing a decimal number in standard form, you have to bring the decimal point in between first and second significant figure. In this case, the first significant figure is 8. The second significant figure is 0. So you got to bring the decimal point in between first and second significant figure. So I'm bringing the decimal point in between first and second significant figure. Into, since I made jump this decimal point once here, it is then 10 to the power minus 1 because I made it jump here backward. It went backward, so it is minus 1. Then this is the answer. If now you can check whether your answer is correct, take your calculator and input your answer 8.026 into 10 to the power of minus 1. So we are verifying our answer. Equals. Yes, it is correct. Then you can go ahead. You are good to go. Question 3. Use ruler and compasses to construct the bisector of angle ABC. You must show your construction lines. So when you've been given an angle, so this is angle ABC. So when an angle is given, angle ABC, when three letters are given, always the middle letter is the angle. Here A, B, C, then this is the angle. We call this one arm of the angle. This is the other arm of the angle. This is the angle. So this one is the side. This is the side. This is the angle. You can measure it and divide. Bisecting means dividing the angle into two equal parts. So you can straight away divide into two equal parts. You have to follow a certain method to divide it. So you have to use construction. How do we apply construction to bisect this one? You have to use a compasses. We call this one compasses. So pair of compasses. So let's use this one. We call this one the point. This is the needle. We call this one point. So place this point exactly on the vertex of the angle. So I placed it. After that, use this pencil here. Let's use the pencil. Okay, now I'm gonna draw an arc. So let's draw an arc. You can use any radius, any length. You have to use any length. Draw an arc like this, right? After that, you can remove your compasses. After that, place this needle here, exactly where it got intersected with this arm of the angle, right? After that, you can change the radius, and I want you to draw another arc anywhere, wherever you wish, with any radius, right? Let's draw another arc, right? Draw another arc. Now you can't change the radius. Don't change the radius. If you change the radius, you won't get it dissect again exactly. So let's place this needle exactly where this arc gets intersected with this line. After that, draw another arc. Now, if you change the radius, it is wrong. Don't change it. Right. Now, draw another arc. Now, we are done. Now, use the ruler. Take the ruler and keep the ruler here and draw the line. Now, you measure this angle and this angle. They should be equal to each other. That's how we bisect the angle. That's it. Question 4. Dan is playing cards. The probability that he will win a game of cards is 0.3. Dan plays 2 games of cards. Complete the probability tree diagram. So when a tree diagram is given, when 2 sets of branch is given, now here wins, and we need to get the probability for does not win. We know that set of branch, they add up to the probabilities win, does not win. The 2 probability, they add up to 1, because win, does not win, they make 1. Then we can write here 0.3, and if we get this one, let's get they add up to 1. Therefore, x can be taken 1 minus 0.3, which gives out 0.7. Then we can get this one as 0.7 because they add up to 1. Then here again 0.3, 0.7, 0.3, 0.7. So let's get this one as W. Does not win, let's get as W dash. W, W dash, W, W dash. So the result here will be W, W dash. This one W, W dash. This one W dash W, this one W dash W dash. So the question that we are getting here is part B. No need to indicate anything of here. You need to give the probabilities of these. That's it. Work out the probability that Dan does not win either game. Either game. It means both games. So here only one possibility here, W dash, W dash. Then how do we get the end of the branch end? If we need to get the probability at the end of each branch end, we multiply. We multiply at the end of the branch end. So we get 0.7 into 0.7. Once you get it, 0.49. If you are getting the probability at the end of branch end, we multiply. If you are getting two sets, we add. If you are having another set of branch, you have to add. So let's say that you are having another set. You are moving on from this branch end to another branch end. You have to add. That's how you are getting the probability from a tree diagram. Question 5. Robin buys a total of 240 pens and pencils where number of pens to number of pencils equals 3:5. Robin pays 9 pence for each pen. She sells each pen for 11 pence. Robin pays 6 pence for each pencil. She sells each pencil for 10 pence. Robin sells all of the pens and pencils. Work out Robin's percentage profit. Give your answer correct to one decimal place. You must show all your working. So in this case, Robin buys a total of 240 pens and pencils where number of pens to number of pencils equals 3:5. So we've been given here a ratio. First, we need to figure out number of pens and number of pencils when the ratio is given. So when a ratio is given, the first thing we need to figure out the total number of, here in this case, total number of pens and pencils are given. So let's interpret this ratio first. So let's write it in this way. 3:5 can be written in this way. So I can write here, this one represent pens. So let's write pens. This one represents pencils. So let's write pencils here. And 3 plus 5, which is 8, 8 represent total. Okay. So this total represent total ratio parts, not the total number of pens and pencils. So the meaning of this one, let's assume that there are 100 pens and pencils altogether, right? Let's assume that there are 100 pens and pencils altogether. Let's assume that there are 100 pens and pencils altogether. When you are taking 3 pens of this one, always you can take out 5 pencils. Again, you are taking 3 pens out of this amount. Again, you can take 5. Again, you are taking 3. Again, you are taking 5. Again, you are taking 3 pens, 5 pencils. 3 pens, 5 pencils. 3 pens, 5 pencils. So when you are taking like this again and again and again, 3 pens, 5 pencils, your this 100 pens and pencils are, until they are gone, you can take 3 pens, 5 pencils. That's the meaning of this ratio. So it is not real amount, it is simplified amount. That's the meaning of ratio. So always it is not real. It can be real amount, it can be simplified amount as well. So in this case, there are 3:5 pens and pencils. So if I get 8, this 8 is represented by 240 pens and pencils. So I can write again in this way, 8 parts, 8 ratio parts are represented by 240 pens and pencils. 240 pens and pencils altogether. Therefore, I can figure out what's the one part representation of the one part. So one part, therefore, one part can be figured out by dividing 8. Then let's get the calculator. So 240 divided by 8. So how much is it? 30. So it is 30. Then one part is always represented by 30. So 30. Then for pens, there are 3 parts. Therefore, how many pens are there? We can write number of pens. Number of pens. How many parts are there? 3 parts. Then 3 into 30. There are 90 pens. 90 pens. So we can get the cost for the 90 pens that Robin has spent. Cost for 90 pens. Each pen, Robin pays 9 pence. Then for 90 pence, she has to spend 90 into 9. How much is it? 90 into 9. So you can multiply 90 multiplied by 9. It gives out 810 pence. Right? So we are done with cost for the pens. Now let's figure out number of pencils. So let's get number of pencils. Number of pencils. Number of pencils. How many parts for the pencils? So in this case, pencils, we are getting 5 parts. Can you see there are 5 parts for the pencils? Then I need to get one part here, 30. So for 5 parts, 5 into 30, because one part 30 objects are representing by one part. Then I need to get 5 parts for the pencils, then 30 into 5, which gives out 100, and 5 times 0, 5 times 3, 15, 150 pencils are there. Pencils. Then cost for 150 pencils. 150 pencils. So 150, each pencil cost 6. Then once we multiply 150 by 6, we are getting 150 multiplied by 6 gives out 900. Then 900 pence. Then total cost. Total cost equals 810 pence plus 900 pence. So once we add them, 810 plus 900 gives out 1710. 1710 pence. So we are done with the cost. So if you want to get the, we need to work out Robin's percentage profit. We know that if we want to get percentage profit, we need to get what the profit is. So to get profit, if we want to get what profit is, profit equals cost. If you want to get profit equals, you need to get selling price. So you have to get what selling price minus cost. Now we got what cost is. Now you need to get selling price. To get selling price, you need to get the total earning through all the pencils and pens. So let's get the total earning through all the pencils and through all the pencils and pens. So let's get all the earnings from pencils and pens. Right now I'm getting total earnings from 90 pence. Earnings from 90 pence. So we need to multiply 90 multiplied by 11 pence because each pen was sold with 11 pence. So it is 990 pence. Each pen was sold for 11 pence. So it is 990 pence. And next one is earnings from 150 pencils. Earnings from 150 pencils. So 150 should be multiplied by each pencil was sold for 10 pence. Then 150 is multiplied by 10 pence, which is 1500 pence. Then total earnings from pens and pencils, 990 pence plus 1500 pence. So once we add them, we are getting 990 plus 1500 add up to 2490 pence. 2490 pence. Now we can get profit. Therefore, profit equals selling price minus cost price. So selling price in this case 2490 minus cost is 1710, which becomes 2490 minus 1710, which gives out 780 pence. 780 pence. Now we can get what the percentage profit is. So let's get what the percentage profit is. Therefore, our percent equals profit, which is profit over original price or cost into 100 equals profit is 780, cost is 1710 into 100. So use the calculator and plug in the values. 780 over 1710 in 780, 1710 into 100. 45.6. It is 45.6. That's the answer. Question 6. The stem and leaf diagram shows the test scores of 23 students from school A. 23 students from school B did the same test. Their median score was 56. The range of their score was 47. Compare the distribution of the test scores of the students from school A with the distribution of test scores of the students from school B. Now we need to write a comparison of school A and school B. To write the comparison, we've been given the information of median score of school B and the range of their scores of school B. Then we need to have the median score of school A and we need to have this range of school A. So to get median and range of school A, we've been given here stem and leaf diagram. So using stem and leaf diagram, you should know how to get the median, how to get the range. So how do we interpret this data using stem and leaf diagram to get median and range? So first of all, you should know how to read this stem and leaf diagram. To read this one, you've been given a key. You should know how to interpret this key to read this stem and leaf diagram. How do we use this key to read this stem and leaf diagram? The key says that this key, it says that how to use this key to read this stem and leaf diagram. So this one, when we have 3, the slash or the vertical line 0, it means 30. Then this one is 30, this one is 41, this one is 42, this is 44, 44 again, 45. This is not just 7, it is 47. Then whenever you need to read this one, it is not just 9, it is 69. When you are coming here, it is not just 3, it is 73. This one, it is not just 2, it is 42. This one, let's say that you gotta read this one, it is not just 9, it is 59. This is the way how we read a stem and leaf diagram. Let's say that we need to get the range. So you should know what the range is, right? The range means, let's say that range equals the biggest number of any data, biggest minus smallest. Now, when you're using a stem and leaf diagram, the data has been arranged according to ascending order. So, if we consider this data, the first data point is your smallest data point. So, if I get this one, which is this one, it is 30. Then this is your smallest one. Then if you move on to the last data point, which is this one, it is your biggest data point, which is 79. So, 79 minus 30, which becomes 79 minus 30, which becomes 49. Then your range of school A is 49. Let's move on to the what? Median. So how do we get median? Median means the middle value. So if you have just like this, let's say that you are having values like this 3, 5, 7, 9, 12. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have just 5 data point, if you want to get the middle data value, if we cut them like this, cut off them like this, the middle value is this one. So straight away we are getting this one. So no matter where you are getting a stem and leaf diagram, still you need to cut off the data. So let's cut smallest one, biggest one, the first one, the last one, the first one, the last one, cut them off. Second one, the second last one. Like that, let's cut them off. Cut them off. So this is the remaining one. Then what's your median? Median is 57. So this is school A range is 49. School A median is 57. Now we need to give the comparison. So when giving your comparison,
You need to use the context form. It means you need to use context from the question. You need to use the words from your questions. If you just use general terms, you are losing marks. You have to use words from the questions. So let's use context from the question. Then you gotta use these words. The median test score, the median, because we are using a comparison, the median test score, the median test score, (57) is bigger for school A than school B, and which is the range of the range the range test score 49 is bigger for school A, for school A than school B. So this is your comparison. So you need to use context from your question. Can you see I've used context? Here, school A, school B, those are context from your questions. Please don't use just median. Don't use just median and range. You have to use context from your question. Question 7. Jana used her calculator to find the value of a number t. The answer on her calculator began 10.2. Complete the error interval for t. When you are getting a question under error interval, you gotta figure out what the key word in this question. In this question, the keyword is began. Began is the keyword. So you gotta highlight the word began. The word began says that just cut off extra digits. It means the other digits you are getting in the calculator, you have to cut them off. You have to cut all the digits that you are getting in the calculator other than 10.2. You need to cut off without rounding off. This word says that don't round them off. Don't round this off, just cut them off. Then when writing this error interval, we get this one as it is, which is 10.2. So the possible one which shouldn't include to the error interval is 10.3. We need to include the rest 10.2, but we shouldn't include 10.3. The word began says that this is truncation. Just cut off extra digits. The error interval goes from the number show up to the next place value, 10.2 truncated 1 decimal place. 10.2 truncated first decimal place. Therefore, this is the error interval. If the question says began or truncated, use truncation method. Okay, this is the method then we have to use. If it says rounded or correct to, use rounding method. It means you need to use upper or lower bound method. You need to go to the place value and you have to get the place value. You need to divide it by 2. Then you have to add or subtract that much to get the bounds. Then you have to use that method. This is just cut that much and use the truncation method or cut off method. Is it clear? This is the answer for that. Question 8. ABC is a right angle triangle. Calculate the length of AB. Give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So there's a triangle which is ABC. This is 90-degree triangle. When we are given a 90-degree triangle or a right angle triangle, so there is, can you see it? ABC, which is B, is a 90-degree triangle. So when we are given a 90-degree triangle, there are 4 scenarios that we can apply for this triangle. First one is Pythagoras theorem. So when can we apply Pythagoras theorem? When we've been given 2 sides. So necessarily there should be 2 sides given. There shouldn't be angle involvement. There shouldn't be an angle involvement. There should be 2 sides involvement. So when 2 sides getting involved, you can apply Pythagoras theorem. So there are 2 scenarios that should be there to apply Pythagoras theorem. First one is there should be 90-degree triangle. The other one should be 2 sides should be given. 2 measurements of the 90-degree triangle should be given. Then you can apply Pythagoras theorem to figure out the other one side. Right? So in this case, since we've been given here one side and one angle, we have to exclude this theorem. Right? So let's move on to the next one then. The next one is what? The basic trigonometric ratios. What are the basic trigonometric ratios? SOHCAHTOA, sine, cos, tan. So let's write it in this way. Second one, so. Third one, CH. Fourth one, TOA. SOHCAHTOA. So we can apply SOHCAHTOA when we've been given side and angle, or obviously 2 sides are also given. Okay, so there are 2 possibilities that we can apply SOHCAHTOA when one side and one angle or 2 sides are given. But for Pythagoras, necessarily there should be 2 sides given. Right? So those are the 2 scenarios. Right, now let's move on to the question. In this case, we need to get AB. Now, first thing, before moving on to the question, we got to do one thing. You have to do the labeling first. Let's do the labeling. No matter whether it is Pythagoras, no matter whether it is trigonometric, you should do this thing first. You have to apply what the hypotenuse first. Let's label what the hypotenuse is. Now, although you know what the hypotenuse, what the hell this hypotenuse is. Hypotenuse is the longest, the lengthiest side of the triangle is. So in this case, just at a glance, you can decide what the longest side of this triangle, right? Can you see AC is the longest side? So if you can't assume what the longest side is, you can do another thing, another judgment here. Go to the 90-degree triangle. Just get the side where that opposite to that 90 degree. So I can come here. Can you see this is the side which is opposite to this one. In the other sense, this side, it doesn't touch this 90 degree. Can you see this side? It is touching this. This side, it is touching this 90 degree. This side, it doesn't have any connection with this 90. That is hypotenuse. So label this one as H. Right? So we are done with labeling hypotenuse. Now let's label the other 2 sides. So next one is opposite. So opposite one is the side which is opposite to the given angle, which is not to the 90. Okay, now we are done with 90. We do not look at 90 again. After that, you have to come to the given angle. So this is the given angle. After that, you have to go to the side which is opposite to not 90, the given angle. So this is the side which is opposite to this angle. So we label this side as opposite. This is the side which is adjacent to this angle. Can you see it is the side that is attaching to this angle. So we say that this side attached to this angle. Or you can say that this side is the adjacent to this angle. Therefore, we label it as or attached or A. Right, we are done with labeling the three sides. Now, let's see, we need to get AB, right? So let's put a tick to AB because that is the side that we need to get. Then you have to include this side into your ratio. Therefore, necessarily you need to include this side. Therefore, put a tick into this one. Right, we are done with AB. Then now you need to include a given side. Therefore, this is the only one that we have. Therefore, you need to include this one. It is pointless if you include this one. Therefore, you can't include this one. Don't include this one. It is pointless. So, let's leave it behind. So, let's include this one, then O and A. Now, come to Sokotowa. Figure out which ratio includes O and A. O and A. O and H. This doesn't have O and A. This doesn't have O and A. Yes, this one has O and A. Then let's pick this one. Toy. Toy. Right. We pick this one. After that, derived it like this. Expand this one. T equals O over A. Always the second letter comes to the numerator. Third letter goes to the denominator. Right. This is the way we expand it. So T equals O over A. First one comes here. Second one goes to the denominator. Right. Now O. Now go to the diagram. O. Your O is this one, which means AB. So let's write AB. What is T? T is the angle, which means T stands for tan. T stands for tan angle, not just tan, okay? You have to include the angle as well. So what is the angle? Angle is 62, so tan 62. AB or adjacent. Now go to adjacent. Adjacent is your this one. So how much is it? 7.6. So write 7.6. Right. Now we are done up to so far. So AB, I need to get AB. Now I need to get rid of this one. Now this is division, right? So when you are sending this division to this side, we always apply the opposite. When division goes to this side, it becomes a multiplication. So 7.6 multiply tan 62. Tan 62. So let's get the calculator. So let's plug in the values. So 7.6 multiply tan 62. Tan 62 equals 14 point. So AB equals 14.28. Now we need to leave our answer to the first decimal place. Therefore, I'm ending up with 14.3. That's it. Question 9. Simplify fully. 2x cubed y to the power of 5 multiplied by 7x squared y. How do we do this one? How do we simplify fully? So the very first step when we are getting indices questions, especially simplifying fully, so write the numbers close together first. So I'm going to write the numbers close together because this is multiplication. When it is addition or subtraction, you can't write them close together. If it is multiplication, division, yes, you can collect them close together. So let's write them close together since this is multiplication. So 2 into 7. If it is addition or subtraction, you can't write like this. Into x to the power of 3 into x squared, y to the power of 5 into y. Now I know that I can multiply them out straight away, then which becomes 14. When multiplying letters, same bases, we add the powers. So let's add the powers, which becomes 3 plus 2, x to the power of 5. Y, we add the powers, 5 plus 1, y to the power of 6. This is the answer. Here, when raising power to power, this is out of brackets. So this is not multiplying the bases. This is raising power to power, bracket. So we got to multiply out the powers. Then m to the power of 2 into minus 3, which becomes minus 6. So these are two different things. This multiplying by the same bases, multiplying the powers are same different things. Question 10. In a sale, the normal prices are reduced by 15%. Amina buys a dress in the sale for £46 and 75 pence. Work out the normal prices of the dress. So we have to find out what the normal price is. So to get the normal price, I think you can remember what the formula is. So if you know what the formula is, this is super easy. This is the easiest question. So let's see whether you can figure out what the formula is. Let's see whether you can remember this one. New value equals P, which is old value, normal prices, principal value, anything is known as P. Original value. So remember this one as original value or old value. 1 plus or minus R over 100. R means the percentage. Okay. So remember this one. P stands for original value. Original, you can write cost. You can write normal price. You can write principal value. You can write old value. So there are a lot of terms for this one. Right. New value. Sale price. Sale price. So here R equals percentage. Okay. So these are the terms that we can use for this question. So in a sale, the normal prices are reduced by 15%. Then old value or the original value is the one that reduced. So in this percentage question, always you have to know how to differentiate what's the old one, what's the original one always, and what's the new one always. Differentiate that one. It is super important. When you are getting that question, write like this: old value, new value. So when the question is given, write them like this. In a sale, the normal prices are reduced by, so reduced by 15%. Right, like this, it is helpful. Amina buys a dress in the sale for 46 pounds and 75 pence. So this is, she bought this dress in a sale. In a sale. Is this old or is this new? She went to a shop. The prices were reduced, and in the sale price, it is this, this is the price for sale. Then it is new value, right? So 46 pounds and 75 pence. Right. Work out the normal prices. Normal prices. Normal price. So this is the thing that we need to get. Then the formula. If you use the formula, you need to get this thing, right? P. So if I write it, I need to get this one. P equals new value over, because this is connected with multiplication. If I send this whole thing, we call this one multiplying factor. Okay, this is called multiplying factor. So if you are getting what the multiplying factor is, you are getting for this part itself, you are getting separate 1 mark. So if you are getting what the multiplying factor, if you are sending what the multiplying factor to this side, it is division. 1 minus, in this case, I told you that the percentage is minus r over 100. So what do you call this one? The whole thing itself called multiplying factor. Right, now let's substitute. New value, we got it. It is 46 pounds and 75 pence, and 1 minus r. R is 15 over 100. Right. Please do one thing for this one. Instead of using the calculator, instead of plugging the value at once, I want you to get this one separately, as you are getting 1 mark for this multiplying factor. Therefore, let's get this one. 1 minus, this is 85, right? So, this is 80, sorry, this is 0.85. So, it is, if you are not sure, you use the calculator. 15 over 100. So it is 0.85. So let's write it in this way. 46.75 divided by 0.85. For this part itself, you are getting 1 mark. That's why I want you to, instead of getting at once, try to get, it is okay to get at once as well, but write this one separate. Now, 46.75 divided by 0.85 equals 55. That's the answer. So that's the answer. Question 11. OAB is a sector of a circle with center O and radius 4.7 meters. The sector has a perimeter of 34.3 meters. Find the size of the reflex angle AOB. Now, what is a sector? Let's say that you are having a circle like this, and if you cut out part like this is your center, and you are cutting out a part like this. Now, if this is your center, center should be labeled with O. This is radius, this is radius. Now, if you are cutting out this part is known as minor sector. It is something like a piece of pizza, right? Here, minor sector. And this one, this is the bigger piece. We call it major sector. Major sector. Okay. So this is the piece that we know as a sector. This is also sector. So since this is smaller part, we call it minor sector. This is the bigger part. Therefore, we call it major sector. Then now we need to get the reflex angle. Now you should know what a reflex angle is. So let's say there are 3 types of angles: acute, obtuse, and reflex. Okay. Acute is the one which is less than 90. So it is less than 90. Angle in between 0 to 90. Any angle in between 0 degrees to 90 degrees, all are acute. Can you see it is cute? Okay, so acute is the angle which is small. It is 0 to 9. Obtuse. Obtuse is the medium one. It is the middle one. Here, can you see remember it in the alphabetical order. A, O, R. Okay, so the middle one is O. It is always 90 to 180 degrees. So it is in between 90 to 180. So it is kind of big, but not that big. Reflex is the one which is greater than 180. So it is always greater than 180. So this is reflex. Right, in this case, then it is obvious this is the angle that we need to get. Right? Let's label it as theta. Right, now you know what reflex is. Now there is a hint which is perimeter. You know perimeter, what perimeter is? The perimeter is all the outer lines, right? Addition of all the outer lines. Here, if you get a sector, now let's get what a normal sector is. Now I taught you this is the minus sector is, right? Now if I get a circle, this is the circle. Now how do I get the area of the circle? Area, what's the formula? You should memorize this formula. Area equals pi r squared. What's the circumference? Circumference equals 2 pi r. So please memorize these two formula, pi r squared and 2 pi r. So circumference means the length of this outer line. Area means the surface of this full circle, right? So the outer line, length, outer line. So same way, if you are getting a sector, this is sector. This is minus sector. Okay. So in same way, you can get the outer line. This is arc length. We call it arc length. So if you want to get this arc length, no matter whether it is minor arc or major arc, so I got a minor arc. If you want to get the major arc, there is a major arc. Same way, if you want to get the circumference or the length, same formula. Pick the same formula because it is part of the full circle. So if I draw this full circle, it is like this. Since this is part of the circle, I'm straight away writing the full formula 2 pi r. Since this is part of the circle, we are writing the formula theta over 360. So remember, now if you are getting confused, oh, it is pi r squared or 2 pi r, which formula to be picked? I'm confusing here. Oh, it is pi r squared 2 pi r. No, it is not like that. You need to get cleared like this. Whether it is arc length, whether it is arc area. Sorry, whether it is sector area, whether it is arc length. Okay. If it is arc length, it is part of the circumference. If it is sector area, it is part of the circle area. Then you can pick the correct formula. Let's pick the correct formula. Then this is part of the arc circumference, right? So let's get the correct formula. This is the correct formula. Then let's get it is like this. Now we've been given here perimeter. Here this is perimeter is given. We know that perimeter equals. So if I write perimeter should be written in this way. Here the perimeter, when getting perimeter, I know that I can write it in this way. Perimeter is addition of this length, addition of this arc, because I need to cover all the outer lengths and this length, which means r plus this arc length, right? Let's write it in this way, r plus arc length. Okay, then from this 34.3 minus 2r equals arc length, right? So arc length equals 34.3 minus 2 times, how much is the R? R is 4.7. 4.7. So let's get the arc length. Arc length 34.3 minus 2 times 4.7 equals 24.9. So it is 24.9. So we have the arc length and I know the formula for arc length. So arc length equals 24.9. On the other hand, I know the formula which is theta over 360 into 2 pi r. If it is sector area, it is pi r squared. So since this is, I have to deal with perimeter, I know that it is part of the circumference, therefore I pick 2 pi r. So let's cross multiply. 24.9 before cross multiplying. Let's simply substitute the values. 360, 2 pi, how much is r? 4.7. Right. Can you see here each and everything is connected with multiplication? This is division. So when division is sent to this side, it becomes multiplication. When multiplication sent to this side of the equal sign, they become division. So you need to, when sending to this side, you have to convert them opposite always. So I'm sending everything to this side. 24.9. This one is multiplication, this one is multiplication, they become division. So 2 pi, they become division. This one also division. This one goes up because it is here division, then it goes up. 360 equals theta. So straight away use the calculator. 24.9 into 360 over 2 into pi, shift and this pi into 4.7. Here 7 equals 303.5. 303.5 degrees. Here 7. Then it becomes 304 degrees. That's it. Question 12. Rudy invests £4,500 in a savings account. He gets compound interest at a rate of 2.4% for the first year, 1.8% for the extra year. Part A, work out the value of Rudy's investment at the end of 3 years. So for this question, you need to get the formula. What's the formula for the compound investment? Let's write the formula. First year investment, let's write the formula. New value equals old value. For old value, I can write P, which is principal value. 1, since this is investment, I can straight away write 1. So it is 1 or plus or minus. R over 100 raised to the power of N. So you should know new value is the after value. New value, P is the old value or the original value. R is percentage. N is number of years. N stand for number of years. Right. Let's do this one. First year investment. After first year. We have to use after first year because after first year, the percentage is different. Therefore, we need to break it down. So new value Therefore, the investment is changing. New value equals the investment amount for the first year is 4,500. The old value becomes 4,500. This is the amount that the person was taking to the bank. This is the amount that one was starting off. Therefore, we are taking the old value as 4,500, or the initial amount is 4,500. 1, this is plus because that one is gaining something out of this investment. It is not depreciating. This is appreciation. So R is 2.4. This is the percentage, 2.4 over 100 raised to the power of 1, because this is only for 1 year period of time. 4,500 into, so use the calculator to get the value for this one. 1 plus 2.4 over 100. It gives out 1.024. 1.024. So when we multiply them together into 4,500 equals 4,608. That's the answer for the first year. Now, next 2 years, same formula. So, new value. For the new value, the principal amount would be 4,608, because now he is starting off with this amount for the next 2 years. Therefore, I'm taking my new value as 4,608 into 1 plus, this time the interest rate would be 1.8. The percentage is 1.8 over 100. Straight away substitute the values into this one. This is gaining 1 again. That's why I entered plus here. Number of years in this case 2. So take the calculator. So 4,608 into 1 plus 1.8 over 100 raised to the power of 2. How much is it? 4,775.3738. So that's the answer, final answer, 4,775.38. So that's part A. Let's see what part B is. Bruna buys a car for 7,500 pounds. The value of the car depreciates by X% each year. At the end of 2 years, the value of the car is 4,107 pounds. Work out the value of X. In this case, new value is given, old value is given. You have to decide what old value, what new value is given, because percentage question is always new value, old value. You have to decide what the new value, what the old value. Other than that, you will be unable to use the formula. So in this case, this is depreciation. So let's decide which one is new, which one is old. Bruna buys a car for this one. Then this is obviously the old value. At the end of 2 years of time, the value of the car is this one. Then this is new value. Let's write the formula. So new value equals old value, or P, you can straight away write P, into 1 plus or minus R over 100 raised to the power of n. So let's substitute the value, plug in the value into the formula. 4,107 4107 equals, old value is 7500 into 1. This is depreciation, therefore minus x percentage. We don't know. We have to figure it out. 100. How many years are there? 2 years. 2. So I need to get what? X. It is inside bracket, not just inside bracket. It is raised to the power of 2. So just keep it there. Just get rid of what is out of that first. So this is the first thing that I can get rid of, this one. It is connected with a multiplication sign. So I'm going to get rid of that one first. So I'm going to send it to this side. Since it is connected with multiplication, when I'm sending it to this side, I get to apply opposite to that one. Then when I'm sending it to this side, it will be a division. So let's send it to this side. 4107 to be divided by 7500 equals 1 minus x over 100. Keep this one as it is because it is complicated. You can't straight away pick this out. It is something kind of inside a house and not just inside a house. It is locked, not just locked. It is password locked. That is something like that this x is. So let's get the answer for this one. 4107 to be divided by 7500. What is the answer? 0.5476. 0.5476 equals 1 minus x over 100 all over raised to the power of 2. Now, how do we get rid of this squared form? That's the first lock that we have to unlock. Other than that, we can't come inside the house, right? So we have to unlock this one. This is the first. Now, let's say that I'm coming to this house, inside this house. This is the first one that I have to unlock. So I need to get rid of this squared one. Then to get rid of this squared one, if it is squared one, I have to do something opposite to it. If you want to get rid of squared one, you have to get the square root of it. So let's get root of both of them. So I'm applying root of both of them. Then root and squared will cancel out because that's what I wanted to unlock. Therefore, this will and this will get cancelled out. Still, this will be there. Right, then I'm getting here 1 minus x over 100. Here I'm getting root of 0.5476. Right, now a bit clear, right? Now it is kind of clear because x is now, I can isolate what x term with this 100. So since it is negative, I'm going to send it to this side. Then I can make it positive. So x over 100, I'm going to make it positive. Then x over 100, right? I made it positive. Then I'm having 1 here. Then root 0.5476. Right now, only one step because I need to get what x is. Then I need to get rid of 100. 100 is connected with division. Then I got to apply opposite. Then x equals then x equals 100 times, apply brackets, 1 minus root of 0.5476. Right, use the calculator. 100 multiplied brackets 1 minus root of 0.5476, close the bracket, equals 26. The answer is 26. Question 13. ABC and AED are straight lines. BC and CD are parallel. ABE equals 4.2 centimeters, CD equals 6.3 centimeters, AC equals 10.8 centimeters. Work out the area of trapezium BCDE. That's a trapezium. We need to get the area of this trapezium. So this question is a bit different this time because there are two visible triangles. There is nothing mentioned about these two triangles. Can you see ABE? This is a triangle, and ACD. This is also a triangle. There is nothing mentioned about these two triangles. So if we focus about these two triangles, obviously these two triangles are similar actually. How do we know that these two triangles are similar? Because if we get this one, this line is parallel to this line, right? Therefore, this angle is equal to this. How? Their corresponding angle. Can you see there is letter F? And here, if I get this angle, this is common for the both the triangle. Triangle AEB and ADC. In both the triangles, A is there, right? A is there. ABE and ACD, in both the triangles, angle A is there. Therefore, angle A is common in both the cases. Therefore, we can get that A is common. And 90 is there in both the triangles. Therefore, all three angles are equal. Therefore, two triangles are similar. So, whenever you can prove that A scenario in any two triangles, it means those two triangles are similar. A means what? Angle, angle, angle condition. It means all three angles are equal. So therefore, we can write that two triangles, triangle ABE and triangle ADC or ACD are similar. So they are similar. Then we can apply similarity rules, which means we can get the scale factor. Then we can get what? We can get the other corresponding length. Right. Now let's label the given information on the diagram. Right. Here BE is given as 4.2 centimeters and CD is given as 6.3 centimeters and AC is given as 10.8 centimeters. We need to get the area of the trapezium. How do we get the area of the trapezium? Half A plus B times H. What is A plus B? The the addition of two parallel lines. So this is A, this is B. We have these two sides then. H is the, what is H? H is the height, the perpendicular height. Then with this is the perpendicular height. This is 90 degrees. So we need to get this height. How do we get this height? So we have this length, the full length of this triangle, bigger triangle. So if we can get this height, the height of the smaller triangle, we can subtract this full, the height of the bigger triangle, subtract the height of the smaller triangle, we can get the height of the trapezium. So our goal has to be taken the height of the smaller triangle. So how do we get? We know that two triangles are similar. Therefore, let's apply the similarity rule. So let's write it in this way. Scale factor. Scale factor equals, so I'm going to write in this way. B, let's write it in this way. BE over DC or CD equals 4.2 over 6.3. Let's use the calculator and check it out. 4.2 over 6.3 equals 2 over 3. So it is 2 over 3. Now I know that scale factor is 2 over 3. This is, remember, from smaller triangle ABE to ACD. You should remember the way how we got the scale factor. 2 over 3. So the scale factor is given to, we found it 2 over 3. Now we need to get the length, height of AB. Let's get the height of AB. Then I can write AB equals scale factor times the corresponding length. What is the corresponding length? AB, its corresponding length is 10.8. 10.8. So let's get it. 2 over 3. 2 over 3 into 10.8. It is 36 over 5. So this length is 36 over 5. This is 36 over 5. This much is 36 over 5. Right, now we have AB. It is 36 over 5. Then we can get BC. How to get BC? Therefore, BC equals 36. BC equals 10.8. 10.8 minus 36 over 5 equals 10.8 minus 36 over 5. How much is it? 18 over 5. So this much is 18 over 5. This is 18 over 5. Now we can get the area of the trapezium. So let's get the area of trapezium. half into 4.2 plus 6.3 into h we got it as 18 over 5. So let's use the calculator. Half 1 over 2 into brackets 4.2 plus 6.3, close the bracket, into 18 over 5 equals 189 over 10, which means 18.9 squared centimeter. Question 14. Prove algebraically that 0.46262 is recurring can be written as 229 over 495. Very first step, we have to create an equation by equating this recurring number into x. So let's equate it. X equals 0.46262 recurring and label it as the first equation. Now we need to get this 4 forward. Therefore, I need to multiply this one by 10. So if you are getting any number in front of the recurring part, first you need to get rid of that part. Don't think about the recurring part first. If you are having anything other than recurring, first get rid of that one. First take that one forward. Now let's say that you are having 3.23 recurring. If you want to get this one forward, bring this one forward here. If there is recurring, there is decimal point. If you want to bring this one forward, then I need to multiply. If I multiply this number by 10, just forget about this recurring part. Just if I multiply this one by 10, this decimal point just passes over here, then it will be 32.3, right? So same thing can be applied here to get rid of this non-recurring digit. Then first thing is we are getting rid of this non-recurring digit. So for getting rid of this non-recurring digit, we are multiplying the equation by 10. So then this one will be 10x. Here it will be 4.62. Recurring part will be still there. So this is equation 2, right? So now I'm having right after my decimal point, I'm getting my recurring part. That is my goal. Right after the decimal point, you need to have the recurring part. So that's the equation rearrangement. Right after the decimal point, you should have recurring part. Right after the decimal point, if you are having recurring part, now you can rearrange the equation. So now I need to get rid of this recurring part. So your equation is, you are having your equation like this: 4.626262. It goes on and on and on, right? So this is your recurring number. So our goal is now bringing one recurring set, just one set forward again. Keeping the rest here, just bringing one set. So to bring one set, I need to multiply again this one by 100. Only one set. So I'm multiplying by 100. So if you are having 2 digits recurring, you need to multiply the equation by 100. If you are having 1 digit recur, then you need to multiply by 10. If you are having 3 digits recur, then you need to multiply by 1000. Likewise, as much as you are getting recurring digits, then you need to multiply by the hundreds, thousands, tens, likewise. So let's multiply this one by 100, then 100 multiplied by 10, it will be 1000x. Here, this will be, so what will happen? These 2 digits will come over here, then it is 462. Again here, 62, 62, 62, 62, again 62 will be there. Now this is our third equation. Now we can subtract to equation 3 minus equation 2. So 1000x minus 10x equals 462 minus 62 recurring minus 406, 4.62 recurs. Now, can you see if I write this one downwards? 462.62 recurs. Here, 4.62 recurs. What will happen once we subtract? Can you see it's recurring part? That's our goal actually. We need to get rid of these two. So once we subtract this one, 8, 5, 3. No, 458. So here we are getting 458. Here I'm getting 990x. Then I need to get x. So I'm dividing both sides by 990. So 458 divided by 990. Now use your calculator and check, then you will get this answer. 458 over 990. Let's see. Yes, 229 over 495. Question 15. Make P the subject of the formula T equals 2 times 2P minus 3 all over 5 minus 2P. So we need to subject P. Now can you see P is split in two places? So first thing, we need to collect P's to one side. So when collecting P's to one side, first thing, we need to get rid of this denominator. For getting rid of the denominator, let's cross multiply. So T times 5 minus 2P equals 2 times 2P minus 3. So first thing, you need to get rid of the denominator. So let's expand the brackets. 5T minus 2PT equals 4P minus 6. Right? Now let's collect all P's to one side because P is split in two places. Let's collect P's to one side. Since P is negative in this side, I'm going to send this P to this side. It is okay to collect P's to this side as well. I don't like P to get negative. Therefore, I'm sending P to this side. It is okay to get P to this side as well. If you are trying to get P to this side, to the left side, it is still okay. So for P, I'm sending the P to this side. Then can you see it is getting positive? 2PT. Then 5T plus 6. Now, can you add these two? 4P plus 2PT? No, they are not like terms. To add or subtract P's, you need to have exact same set. It is algebra. So to add or subtract, you need to have same set of letters or you need to have same set of powers. It means if you want to add, you need to have another t here to add. If you don't have 4p and 2pt, they are not same set of letters. You need to have t here to add. Therefore, we can't add them. Then there is only one thing that you can do here is factorize. You can factorize. So remember, when P is split in two places where there is no possibility to add, there is only one possibility that you can do. What is it? Factorize. So let's take P out of here. Then 4 plus 2t. Okay, then here in this side, we are getting 5t plus 6. Now I can isolate p. I need to get rid of this 4 plus 2t. This is connected with multiplication. There is hidden multiplication sign. Then if I want to send this one to this side, I need to divide it. So let's divide this one. 4 plus 2t. Dividing both sides by 4 plus 2t. Then let's divide this side by 4 plus 2t. Then let's get cancelled out. So you can finalize your answer with this one. This is totally fine. So 5p equals 5t plus 6, 4 plus 2t. Question 16. OBCD is a rectangle. DCE is a straight line. B has coordinates 2, minus 4. E has coordinates 12, minus 6.5. Work out the coordinates of D. So we need to get the coordinates of D. How do we get coordinates of D? Let's label the coordinates of D as x, y. Right. Then how do we get it? So if we can, now we've been given coordinates of B. Let's label it as coordinates of B is given as 2, minus 4 and coordinates of E given as 12, minus 6.5. And one more thing. Here this is origin. Therefore, we know that coordinates of the origin as 0, 0. And one more thing that this is a rectangle. Therefore, this is 90 degree. This is 90 degree, right? And this line is parallel to this line. And this side is parallel to this side. They are opposite sides, equal and parallel. And what else do we know? We know one more thing. We need to get the coordinate of this one. So we need to have a plan. How do we get the coordinate of this one? So if you can get the equation of this line. So let's say that you have the equation of this line. Equation of this line. And if you have the equation of this line as well. Then once you solve those two equations simultaneously, then we are getting the two answers because the equation you are getting in terms of x and y. This is a straight line, y equals mx plus c, the format. Then you are getting two equations in terms of x and y. We're going to solve those two equations simultaneously. Then you are getting x answer, and for y also there's an answer. So those x and y answers are the coordinates of D. So let's try to form the equation of OD and try to get the equation of DE. To get the equation of OD, what is the format of equation of OD? We know that it is y equals mx plus c. Oh, I don't know whether you know this format. Do you know? Check out whether you know this format. Y minus y1 equals m times, which means the gradient times x minus x1. This is easy. So the other format here, you need to have another equation. So same thing, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. If you don't know this one, this is totally fine. You can form the equation taking y equals mx plus c format. Right. To form the equation, then y1, x1 means you need to have a coordinate. In this case, you are having a coordinate which is 0, 0. The other thing then, you need to have the gradient. Now let's see how to get the gradient of this line. We know that gradient equals y difference over x difference. So let's write it. Gradient equals m equals y difference, which means y2 over y1, x2 over x1. Now in this case, we have only one coordinate. Then straight away we can't use this formula, right? Then let's see that this is perpendicular to this one. So getting the gradient of this one, then if you can get the gradient of this one, this line OB is perpendicular to OD. Then if you can get the gradient of OB, then you are done. You can get the gradient of OD. Then before getting the gradient of OD, let's get the gradient of OB. So I'm going to write here gradient of OB. So let's write the two coordinates that we are having 0, 0 and we are having 2, minus 4. Right? So I'm going to use one coordinate as this is x1, y1. This is x2, y2. So straight away use the formula. Let's get the gradient of this line as m1. Then m1 equals y2, which is this one, minus 4, minus 0, x2, which is 2 minus 0, which gives out minus 2. Then we are having the gradient of this line, which is minus 2. Then we can get the equation of, let's get the gradient of OD then. Gradient of OD. We know that if this is M1, this is perpendicular to this line OD. Then let's label this one as M2. If two lines are perpendicular, we can write that M1 and M2. Once we multiply their two gradients, the lines of which are two perpendicular to each other, once we multiply their two gradients, they equal to minus 1. Then minus 2, because this is minus 2, we don't know what M2. Right. Let's write M2, the gradient of this line is equal to minus 1. Minus 1. Then M2 equals minus 1 over minus 2, which gives out half. Then we got the gradient of this line, which is half. Now we have the gradient, we have a coordinate where this line passes through. Then using this one, using this equation format, we can form the equation. So let's form the equation of OD. Let's write the equation of OD. Equation of OD. So we can write y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Or you can write y equals mx plus c straight away, or you can get what c as well. So I'm writing y minus y1, my coordinate is 0. Here this line passes through 0, 0. So 0, our gradient is half x minus 0. Then our equation comes as y equals half x. So this is our equation of OD. Right. We are done with one equation. Now let's get the other equation where we need equation of DE. To get the equation of DE, we need to get the equation of DE. Before making the equation of DE as previously, we need to get the gradient of DE. To get the gradient of DE, we don't have two coordinates. We are having only one coordinate here of E. It is not enough. Therefore, we are moving on to the line which is parallel to this one. Can you see this line DE is parallel to OB? We are having the gradient which is minus 2. So we know that parallel lines share the same gradient because parallel lines have same steepness. So this line DE has the same gradients. Let's write it. This is the same gradient which is minus 2. Then we have the gradient, we have a coordinate, we can form the equation of DE. So let's write the equation of DE. Then equation of DE, right, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Then y minus y1, which is, now we know that this DE passes through, it passes through 12 comma minus 6.1 and its gradient is minus 2. So we have the information. Let's plug in the values now to the equation. So y1, which is minus comma minus 6.5, m is minus 2, x minus x1 is 12. So let's simplify this one. Once we simplify, y here, this is minus minus 6.5. So y plus 6.5 equals minus 2x plus 24. Here we made a mistake here. It is y minus minus 6.4. Then y equals minus 2x. So when 6.4 comes over here, it becomes minus 6.5. Then 24 minus 6.5, it is 17.5. So plus 17.5. So we are having another equation, this one. So we have two equations of these two lines. Now we form two equations of these two lines. Then we need to solve them simultaneously. Equation 1, equation 2. So let's solve them simultaneously now. Now simultaneous equations. That's the final step of this question. So y equals half x, y equals minus 2x plus 17.5. Therefore, I can write half x equals minus 2x plus 17.5. Because this is y equals half x, this is also y equals minus 2x plus 17.5. Both are equals to y. Then I can equate both sides. Now let's bring all the y's to one side. Half x plus 2x equals 17.5. So half x plus 2x becomes 5x over 2 equals 17.5. Then x equals 17.5 over 5 over 2, which gives out 7. So x equals 7. Now we got what x is. Now we need to get what y is. So how to get y? To get y, we are having this equation y equals half x. So half times 7, which gives out 3.5. Then y equals 3.5. So these are the two coordinates. Question 17. Here is a triangle ABC. Work out the area of triangle ABC. So when we need to get the area of triangle ABC, what's the formula of area of triangle ABC? So area equals either half into base into height or half into AB sine C. Now in this case, since we've been given here all three sides, as soon as you see all three sides of the triangle, we can figure out any angle of this triangle. Therefore, AB sine C means AB means two sides and sine C means in between angle. Then two sides and in between angle, two sides and in between angle. So let's figure out the angle first. Then I'm going to get the angle using the cos rule. So what's the cos rule? This is the cos rule. If you can't remember what the cos rule is, A equals cos inverse B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2 times BC. So let's plug in the values into this formula. So here A equals, I'm going to get this angle first. A equals cos inverse B squared. This is, let's get this one as B. These are the two sides. These are the two sides and B squared. So 14.6 squared. Always you need to get the two sides and in between angle. This is the condition that you got to apply for the cos rule. Always two sides and in between angle. It is not randomly sides. The order matters. So two sides and in between angle. Therefore, we need to get 14.6 squared plus 7.9 squared minus always the side which is opposite to the angle that you need to get. Here now this is the side which is opposite to the angle that we need to figure out to be subtracted. So 8.2 squared. Remember it in this way, this is the angle which what we need to get A. Then simple A is the side which is opposite to that one. Here A, then this one has to be simple A over 2 times, so B into C, 14.6 into 7.9. Here B squared, C squared, B into C. Right, let's use the calculator and plug in the values. Shift cos inverse 14.6 squared plus 7.9 squared minus 18.2 squared over 2 times 14.6 into 7.9 and close the bracket equals 103.96. So it is 103.96 degrees, which means 104. So we have this angle now. Since we have this angle, which is 103.96 degrees, now we can get the area of the triangle. So area equals half AB sine C. So when applying half AB sine C, also same condition here, half AB sine C. So two sides in between angle, two sides in between angle, half, two sides 14.6 into 7.9 in between angle, sine in between angle 103.96. So let's plug in the values into the calculator. Half into 14.6 into 7.9 into sine 103.96 equals, we are getting 55.966. 55.966. We need to leave our answer 3 significant figure. Therefore, the answer comes as 56.0 because third significant is this one. So we have to look at the fourth significant figure, which is greater than 5. Then we need to add 1 to the third significant figure, which becomes 9 plus 1, 10. 0, we have to add 1, 6, 56. Then it is 56 squared centimeter. Question 18. Maria wants to find an estimate for the number of frogs in a lake. On Saturday, she catches 40 of the frogs. She puts a tag on each frog and releases them. On Monday, she catches 55 of the frogs. 11 of the frogs have tags. Work out an estimate for the total number of frogs in the lake. You must show all your workings. Right. This is the theory of capture recapture method. So when doing this one, you need to understand the method. So the method is the proportion of tagged frogs in the second catch. Proportion of tagged frogs in the second catch should be the same as the proportion of tagged frogs in the whole lake. Okay? The proportion of tagged frogs in the second catch should be the same as the proportion of tagged frogs in the whole lake. So we need to set up proportion. Let's set up proportion. So let's write it in this way. Let n equals total number of frogs total number of frogs in the lake. Now we're gonna set up proportion. So we are taking capital N as the total number of frogs in the lake. Now how should we set up the proportion equation? Tagged in the second catch. Okay, let's write it in this way. Tagged in second catch over total in second catch. Equals total tagged over total in lake. Okay, total, tagged, tagged. Is it clear? Tagged, total, total. Tagged in second catch, total in second catch. Tagged in second catch, total in second catch. So let's plug in the values now. 11 over 55 is equal to 40 over n. So we can cross multiply now. 11 times 1, 11 times 5. Therefore, n equals 5 times 40, which becomes 200. Then there are 200 frogs in the lake. State one assumption you have made, so we can make no frogs have left or arrived at the lake. Any assumption out of this, you can get no tags have fallen off or no lost frogs, no lost tags, any one of these. So I'm picking no frogs have left. Question 19. The diagram shows a cone. The radius of the base of the cone is 3/4 of the height of the cone. The total surface area of the cone is 54 pi squared centimeter. Work out this height of the cone. We need to get the height of the cone. Here, this is the hint. The total surface area of the cone is 54 pi squared centimeter. This is the hint of the question. When a hint is given, we need to get the start from the hint. So let's get the start because this is the hint. So let's get the start, then the total surface area equals how many surfaces are there in this cone? This is curved surface area and this is the base area. So what's the base? So this is base. What is the base? Base is the circle. Then base area, which is circle, area of the circle plus curved surface area. Curved surface area. So circle, which is pi r squared, curved surface area, which is pi r L. And total surface area is given as 54 pi. Now we need to get the height. Can you see in this equation, we don't have height. So we need to get height into this equation. So how do we get the height into the equation? The first statement, we've been given a hint that we can convert radius in terms of height. So here we've been given the radius of the base of the cone is, in mathematics, when you been given is, here the term is, so all the be verbs, which means is, am, are, to be interpreted with equal sign. So whenever you've been given a statement, if the statement is with is, am, are, we can convert those is, am, are words with equal sign. So let's convert this one. the radius of the base of the cone is, then r equals, because r is 3/4 of the height. Then wherever you get r, we can interpret this one because we need to get what h is. We need to exclude r in our equation because since we need to get what h is. So I'm going to input what r here is. So 54 pi equals pi. Now I don't write r there. I got what r in terms of h. So let's input it. R, which is 3/4h. Now students tend to make this mistake. They don't square this 3/4. Everything to be squared because this is r squared. So put brackets and make it squared, plus pi. Again I am having r, which is 3/4 L, H, L. Right. Now again we have unwanted one, which is L, because we can't get what H is with this L. Now our goal is to get rid of L. So when we are having this thing, we can get rid of L. How do we get rid of L? So we can get rid of L in this way. Okay. Can you see there is 90-degree triangle here in the cone? Always there is 90-degree triangle in a cone. Remember this one, when you've been given a triangle, a cone, there is a 90-degree triangle embedded in a cone. So in this cone, considering this cone, this is H, this is R, this is L. So I can write using Pythagoras theorem, I can write L squared is equal to H squared plus R squared, right? So H squared, we got what R is, 3/4 H. So we need to make it squared. Then H squared, 9/16 H squared. So let's get it into common denominator. Then we are getting, here this is 16 H squared plus 9 H squared. Then we are getting 25 H squared over 16. So this is our L squared. Then L equals, we need to get root of this one. So it is 5/4h. So let's plug in the value of L here. Then 54 pi equals pi. So here 9/16 h squared plus pi. Here 3/4h. L means now 5/4h. So let's simplify this one now. 54 pi equals pi 9/16 h squared plus pi 3 into 5, 15/16 h squared. Now I'm dividing the whole equation by pi. Then pi will cancel out here. 54 equals, we can add this one because both of them are h squared. So 15 plus 9 becomes 25. 15 plus 9 becomes 24 h squared over 16. Then h squared equals, let's cross multiply, 16 into 54 over 24. Then h equals 16 into 54 over 24 root. So plug in the values into the calculator. 16 into 54 over 24, which gives out 6. So the answer is 6 centimeters. Question 20. Solve the simultaneous equations y squared equals 3x squared plus 4, y plus 2x equals 7. Give your solutions correct to 3 significant figures. When we've been given two simultaneous equations, what's the first step? We need to label the two equations. So let's label two equations. Equation 1, equation 2. Right, we are done with labeling part. After that, what's the next step? Next step, realizing that this is not conventional two simultaneous equation, because normally we do that identifying simultaneous equations. After that, we are trying to match the coefficient. We are trying to multiply first equation by a certain number. After that, we are trying to multiply the second equation by a certain number. If you are trying to do in that way, it is wrong. We can't eliminate a letter by that way. So that is normal way, but this is not, we can't do this thing in that way. This is linear and non-linear. So identifying the equation, which one is linear, which one is non-linear is super important. What the hell is that? Linear, non-linear. If you spot these two equations carefully, can you see one equation contains powers and the other equation, it does not contain any powers. So the equation which contains powers, that equation is non-linear. In this case, this equation is non-linear. Non-linear. Then this equation where does not contain is linear. Linear, which means it is an equation of a straight line. This is an equation of a curve or a circle, right? So there are two types of equation for your simultaneous equation in this lesson, non-linear, linear, which means you are getting a straight line equation and a curve equation. So we need to combine these two, which means you have to spot the equation where there are no powers first. So in this case, go to the equation where there are no powers. In this case, this is the equation where there are no powers, the second equation. So let's get that equation and subject a letter. So first step, labeling the two equations. After that, step 2 is go to the non-linear equation. Go to the linear equation, which means go to the equation where there are no powers. After that, subject a letter. When subjecting a letter, you have to decide which letter to be subjected. When deciding that part also a little bit important, because if you are trying to subject a letter which contains with numbers, it is little bit tricky, because if you are trying to subject in this case x, letter x, can you see x is connected with 2 as well? Then you have to deal with fractions. Therefore, it is better to subject y. So let's subject y in this case. Always try to subject just the letter where there are no any numbers connected with that letter. If it is connected, if both the letters connected with numbers, that's fine. Then you have to decide, yes, I have to subject any letter. Okay. So in this case, it is better to subject this letter y. Okay, I'm subjecting letter y. So let's subject letter y. So y equals 7 minus 2x. let's label this equation as the third equation. After that, the third equation to be substituted into the first equation. It means wherever you get y in the first equation, we do not write y there. You got to replace y with 7 minus 2x, right? So let's rewrite the first equation. So I'm getting y squared right. Now wherever I'm getting y, I got to replace 7 minus 2x. Right, now we need to expand this one. This is not just y, that's why we have to square this one. Just expand this one now. 7 minus 2x times 7 minus 2x. So this is not 49 minus 4x squared, guys. Okay, you have to 7 minus 2x times 7 minus 2x, and there's a particular way that you have to expand it. When expanding the brackets, there's a particular way that you got to expand it. So 3x squared. So now let's expand the brackets. 7 into 7, which becomes as 49, and 7 into minus 2x, which becomes minus 14x. Here minus 2x into 7, which becomes again minus 14x. Minus 2x times minus 2x becomes plus 4x. Equals, in this side we are having 3x squared plus 4. Right, let's simplify this one. I'm going to collect all the x's to one side. So I'm having here, this is 4x squared. Right, I'm going to collect everything to one side. So I'm having 4x squared in this side. I'm just shifting it where it is. Then we do not change its sign because it is here. I'm just shifting it here. It is in the same side. So it is, the sign doesn't get changed. 4x squared. If you are crossing over the equal sign, only we change the sign. So I'm crossing over this one, the equal sign, it gets changed, minus 3x squared. Here minus 14x minus 14x minus 28x. Here I'm getting plus 49. This one we are crossing the equal sign, minus 4 equals 0. Right, then 4x squared minus 3x squared, it is x squared minus 28x plus 45 equals 0. Now we can't factorize this one. There are no factors, although you try to factorize. Now, can you see in the question when we are starting off the question, here you've been asked to leave your answers to the third significant figure. Then the question gives you a hint that you are getting your answers with decimal answers, right? This is the time that you are giving a hint that you are getting your answers with decimals, right? Then you don't get smooth factors. For that reason, you should know that you have to use what? The formula. Minus b plus or minus root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Right, now let's you need to get what A, B, C. I think you know how to get them, right? List out what A, B, C. So A equals, let's get what A is. A equals, A is the number in front of x squared or the coefficient of x squared. In this case, if you come in front of x squared, there's nothing visible here. It means there is 1. In front of B, there is minus 28. So B is minus 28. C equals 45. C means the constant. So the constant is plus 45. So let's plug in these values into this formula. Let's plug in these values into this formula. Then let's see what we are getting. So x equals minus b. So minus b, I'm having here minus sign. My b is minus 20. Then minus 28. B is minus 28. Then minus 28 plus or minus b squared. B squared is minus 28 squared minus 4. A is 1. C is 45 over 2 times 1. A. Now let's use the calculator and plug in the values. So you can use mod 53 rather than plug in these values into the calculator. Still you are getting the perfect answer. So I prefer to use mod 53 rather than using this formula mod 53 because I don't make any mistakes using it. So simply 1 equals minus 28 minus 28 equals 45 equals. Then let's write this one 14 plus 14 plus or minus root 151. Right? Now let's get the answer. 26.2882. Let's get the next answer. It is 1.711 7. Right. Now we have two x answers. For these two x answers, we need to get what y's are. So let's get what y's are. So we know that y equals 7 minus 2x. Then let's substitute the x answers for that y answer. Y minus 7 minus 2 times what are our x answers? 26.2882. And the other one is y equals 7 minus 2 into 1.7117. Right, let's get the answers now. Seven minus 2 into 26.2828. It is minus 45.565. Here this one 7 minus 2 into 1.7 point is 3.576. Okay, now we have to write our final answers. Let's write here final answers. X equals 26.3 and y equals minus 45.6. The other one, x equals 1.71, y equals 3.57. Question 21. Here is the graph of y equals f of x. On the grid, draw the graph of y equals minus f of x. Now we need to draw the graph of y equals minus f of x. Y equals f of x is given. So whenever we see y equals f of x, it is the original curve, original function. And here this is y equals minus f of x. Okay. So we need to analyze this is f of x original to transformed one. Always we are comparing original one to the transformation one. What has happened? Being at the original one, now using the transformation. So how do you spot what has happened to this transformation? Can you see here negative sign? As soon as you see spot this negative sign, it means there is a reflection. So this negative sign, it is the thing that says that there is a reflection. Reflection. So when there is a reflection, we can see that reflection means like a mirror. Now, if you go in front of the mirror, you can see your image. As same as reflection means you are having your original image here. You are getting a mirror in front of that original function and you are getting an image in front of this original function. Let's see how to place where this mirror, how to know that where to this mirror to be placed, right? There should be a position where this mirror to be placed. So let's identify the position where we have to place this mirror. Let's see. Now this is f of x minus f of x. So the minus sign says that reflection. Not only that, this minus sign says where you have to place your mirror. So in this case, this minus sign, it is out of this bracket, right? It is out of, the bracket is this thing. Now, if I write it again, f of x is the original one. If I want, I can write it the negative sign here. Now this is out of bracket. See, this is the bracket. The negative sign is out of bracket. So if I want, I can place this negative sign inside the bracket. Now can you see this negative sign is out of bracket? This negative sign is inside the bracket. So whenever you spot this negative sign out of bracket, it means your mirror line should be considered as, your mirror should be considered as x-axis. So remember, when you are seeing your negative sign out of bracket, your mirror line should be x-axis. Right? When you see the negative sign inside bracket, your mirror line should be y-axis. Right? Now in this case, the negative sign is out of bracket. Therefore, your mirror line should be, your mirror line is x-axis. Then let's draw your mirror line, which is this one. Your mirror line has to be x-axis, which is this one. This is your mirror line. Now consider how to draw this image now. When drawing the image, this is the way how we draw it. When drawing the image, all the below one of the x-axis should be reflected to the above the x-axis. All the above stuff should be reflected to the below of the x-axis. Let's reflect part by part. Now this part, I'm considering this part. Let's reflect this part. Now when reflecting, we have to draw this one. Here this part to be reflected. This way, and this part to be reflected this way. So altogether it is something like this. This part is this one, this part is this one. So we are done with this line. After that, this part, this will be reflected like this. This is the mirror line. The image is this way. After that, this one, it will be like this. After finally, this one, it will be like this. So this is your mirror image. All the down part would be reflected to the above the mirror line. All the above part would be reflected below the mirror line. Let's go to part B. Part B says that here is a sketch of y equals sine x. Now our original curve is y equals sine x. This is original curve. The point marked P is a turning point on the graph. The graph of y equals sine x is translated to give the graph of y equals sine x plus 180 degrees plus 4. Following the translation, the point P shown on the graph above moves to point R. Find the coordinates of R. Right. Now this is the thing. This is the original curve. There is a point P on original curve. Once this translation is applied to this point P, it is translated to some other point of the curve. The curve is translated, right? Translating means the curve is shifting to some other place like this or this, moving the curve, and then the point P is moving to some other place. Then we need to figure out the coordinate of the new point. Right, let's see how to get it. First thing, I want you to get the coordinates of this one. So let's label the x-axis of the original curve. So this is 0, this point. Remember the sine curve to be labeled 90 by 90. So 0, 90, 180. Next one is 270. Next one is 360. The period of sine curve is 360. After each 360, the sine curve gets repeated. Okay. So 360. Then the coordinate, the maximum value of sine curve is 1. The minimum value of sine curve is -1. Then the point P, the curve of point P, the coordinates of point P would be 270, comma, -1. Right, now let's see when this translation is applied for this curve, what will happen to this coordinate. So this one says that sine x plus 180. When something applies inside brackets, can you see this is inside brackets? always x coordinate gets changed. So this is inside bracket, therefore x coordinate gets changed, right? So when x coordinate gets changed, always opposite thing to be applied. Now in this case it is x plus, then opposite is x minus. If it is x multiplied, then you have to, if the opposite is x should be divided. If it is x is divided, x should be multiplied. So always inside bracket, if something happened to inside bracket, always opposite thing to be applied. So r, point r would be the new coordinate, then 270, 180 to be subtracted. Then out of bracket means y coordinate, nothing will happen. You have to apply the transformation as it is y coordinate. Then it was earlier -1, the change to be applied as it is for y coordinate. So +1. Then what will happen? 270 minus 180 would be 90 degrees. This is -1 plus 4, it is 3. So the answer is 90 degrees, comma 3. Question 22. Here is a velocity time graph for an aeroplane. Work out an estimate for the distance the aeroplane traveled in first 30 seconds. Use 3 strips for equal width. So we need to use 3 strips for equal width. How do we do this question? This is velocity time graph. Since we've been asked to use 3 strips of equal width, we need to split this time scale into 10-second strips, because we need to use this one 3 strips. So if we want to use 3 strips, only possible 3 strips are 10-second splits. So let's split this one into 10 seconds first. So I'm going to split it into 10 seconds first. So I can split it, first one in this way, second one in this way, and the third one in this way. We can go furthermore, right? Then right. Then we are getting here, this one is a triangle, second one is a trapezium, third one is also a trapezium. So we need to get the height. Height, we know that this is, now this is 90 degrees, then this is height, this is base. Okay, so we can get the area of this triangle, half into base into height. Why should we get the area of the triangle? Because we need to work out the estimate for the distance the aeroplane traveled. So distance, area under the graph. So if we are having velocity time graph, the distance on velocity time graph, okay, you should know this, the distance is equal to area under the graph. So since we need to get the distance traveled in the first 30 seconds, that's why we've been given a specific method, use 3 strips of equal width. So since we used 3 strips here, we need to use area under the graph. We know that area under the graph of a velocity time graph represented distance of the journey. Is it clear now? If you want to get the distance of the journey, the distance is equal to the area under the graph. Since this is a curve, in this grade, you don't know how to get the area under the curve. You have to focus on the specific parts of these strips. So this part is a triangle. This part is a trapezium. This part is also a trapezium. So let's get the area of the triangle first. So area Let's get the area, figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. Okay, area of first figure, which is the triangle, then half into base into height. So half base is, the base is 10, this much is 10. Height is this much. How to get the height? Height is, you should know the scale. The scale is, if it is difficult for you to get the one tiny square representation, so we know that all the way from here to here 20. So write 20. How many squares are there all the way from here to 20? 10 squares. Then 20 divided by 10, 2. Then one tiny square represented by 2 units. Then here 40, here 50. Then all the way to another 2 more squares, 52, then 54. So I'm getting here 54. So once we simplify it, 2 times 1, 2 times 27, it is 270. So area of the triangle is 270. Then area of the second figure, which is the trapezium, half into a plus b, which means the addition of the two parallel sides. Now these two sides are the parallel sides. So this is a, this is b. Remember to add the two parallel sides always, into height. Then your height is this one. Height is the perpendicular distance. So the perpendicular distance is this one. So let's get half into A is this much. How much is this? We already got it, 54. Plus B. B is this much. So let's get this reading. It is here 70, 72, 74. It is 76. So let's get it as 76 into height. Height is this much, 10 to 20. It is 10 again. So when we use the calculator for that, 0.5 into, use the 54 plus 76, close the bracket, into 10. 650. It is 650. So area of the third figure equals again half into a plus b times h, because it is also a trapezium. Again, this one is b, then this one is a, because these two sides are again parallel to each other. Then this is your h. Then we got the reading of this one, which is 76. This much is 76. This much is 54. Now we need to get the reading of this one. This is 80, 80. This is 90, 92. It is 92. Because there is one more square, you have to go here, 92. So this is 92. Then let's plug in the values to this formula. Half into A is 76 plus 92 into 20 to 30, 10. So let's plug in the values again. Half, which means 0.5 into 76 plus 92, close the bracket, into 10 equals 840. Right, now let's add them all together. 270 plus 650 plus 840. They add up to 1760. Then the distance is 1760. 760 meters. Question 23. Sketch the graph of y equals x squared minus 6px minus 7 where p is greater than 0, showing the coordinates of the turning point in terms of p and the coordinates of the intercept with y-axis. You must show all your working. Right, we need to sketch this one. We know that this is a quadratic. So first thing, you need to identify the shape of the curve. How do we understand whether this is the quadratic or not? This is a quadratic. Why? Because the maximum power of the curve is 2. When you are getting the format where ax squared plus bx plus c, if your format is under the ax squared plus bx plus c, then it is quadratic. Because the highest power of your curve is squared, then it is quadratic. So once you decide your curve is under quadratic, next thing you have to decide whether it is happy face or sad face. Now this is happy because smiley, this is sad because crying here face. Right. How do we decide whether it is happy or sad? This is the way. You need to decide whether A, the condition in front of x squared is negative or positive. If A is negative, the value of A is positive, it is happy. Okay, if A is, the value of A is, let's say A is 3, then it is positive, it is happy. If A is negative, let's say there is minus x squared, minus 3x squared, it is negative, then it is sad. If A is negative, this is the shape. So depending on the value of A, we got to decide whether it is happy or sad. Right, now we know whether to decide whether it is quadratic. If it is quadratic, you have to decide if it is quadratic, you have to decide whether it is happy or sad. Right, now we know to draw whether it is happy or sad. Now showing the coordinates of the turning points. Now at least let's say you know nothing about this one, you know that this is happy or sad, right? Because here this is positive. Then let's say that you draw it like this, you are getting 1 mark. So because you know that this is the shape is quadratic, you know it is happy face, you drew it like this, you are getting 1 mark. So deciding whether it is happy or sad, it is also important. Right, now let's see how to get the y-intercept. Y-intercept is the position where the curve cuts the y-axis. So when the curve cuts y-axis, now let's say this is x and y-axis. So anywhere, see now this is the position where cuts the y-axis. When the curve cuts the y-axis, at any time where curve cuts the y-axis, look at this. No matter where it cuts the y-axis, what happens to the x-coordinate? Every time where it cuts the y-axis, always x-coordinate becomes 0. So always x-coordinate becomes 0. Therefore, we write when x equals 0, we need to get what y is. Because when the curve passes through, as soon as when the curve passes through y-axis, x-coordinate gets 0. So figure out the y-intercept, you need to make x 0. So let's make what x, when x equals 0, let's get what y is. So y equals 0 squared minus 6p 0 minus 7. So y equals minus 7. Then the y-intercept becomes 0 comma minus 7. So we are having y-intercept. Now you need to get next one is turning point. Next one is turning point. So you know now it is happy face. You know what the y-intercept. Only one thing is remaining. After that, you are done. You are getting full marks. The next one is what? You need to get the turning point coordinate. When getting the turning point, have you ever seen this one? This is the format of turning point coordinate decision. Complete the square format. So how do we get complete the square format? There is a manual way, so I think everyone knows it, but I'm helping you out, those who don't know that one as well. So this is for the ones who knows that one. After that, I'm teaching those who don't know that one as well. That is step one. Here y equals x squared minus 6px minus 7, right? So to get the complete the square format, y equals, from here we are getting x. From the middle one, we divide it by 2. Then it becomes 3p. We do not grab x. That's it. Squared. Okay. So after that, whatever we write here, minus, you write it again, whatever you write here, divide this one by 2. The answer to be written here without x. Whatever you get here, divide by 2 and minus that thing again and square it. Right? And this one to be written as it is. Then simplify. X minus 3p, the whole thing squared. So once you simplify this one, this is 9p squared minus 7. Now this is, you can't simplify furthermore. This is the complete the square format. So once you get complete the square format, this one gives you a hint of the turning point coordinate. This one. This one, using this one and this one, we can get here this one, x equals minus b. So this is the x coordinate. This is the y coordinate. So y coordinate as it is we pick, x coordinate we reverse it. Now let's get the x coordinate then. X equals 3p, then y equals as it is minus 9p minus 7. So let's draw it now. Let's draw it. Right. Now I'm going to draw the curve. I know that it is happy face. Okay. Then let's label. Let's label. Now we've been asked to label the coordinate. This one. We got the coordinate 0, comma, minus 7. We got the coordinate of this one 3p, comma, minus 9p squared minus 7. That's it. Now come back. Those who didn't get this, complete the square format. There's a formula. Please memorize this one. There's a formula. This is the formula. You just plug in the values for into this formula. This is the formula. Y equals a times x plus b over 2a squared minus b squared over 4a plus c. So if you know how to grab what A, B, C, and if you can memorize this formula, that's it, you are getting full marks. So let's get what A is. So this is your equation, y equals x squared minus 6px minus 7. Then A is the number which is in front of x squared. There's nothing, therefore A becomes 1. B is in front of x, then everything in front of x, which means minus 6p. C is the constant or the numbers itself, then minus 7. So let's plug in the values into this one. So y equals a, which is 1, x plus, as they are, pick them. So b minus 6p over 2 times a, 1 squared, minus b squared, which is minus 6p, the whole thing squared, over 4 into 1. C is plus minus 7. Right. Now let's simplify. 1 is 1. So I'm going to simplify in this way. Here my minus 2 times minus 3. Then x minus 3p squared. Here we are getting the same thing. Can you see? Minus 3p squared. Here I'm getting here minus. Here when we are squaring this one, minus 6 into minus 6 plus 36 p into p squared over 4 plus into minus minus 7. So here 4 times 1, 4 times 9. Then we are getting finally our answer 6 minus 3p squared minus 9p squared minus 7. So this is our complete the square format. Then to get this coordinate turning point, we call this one turning point. This is the turning point because it is turning around. So we call it turning point. So if you want to label the turning point coordinate, always the bracket thing to be reversed. So here x equals 3p. If you are getting plus, make it minus. If you are getting minus, make it plus. So 3p, that's how we are getting 3p. Y coordinate is everything you are getting here. So everything as they are. As now here you are getting minus 9p squared minus 7. You need to grab everything. So here minus 9p squared minus 7. So this is y coordinate. So that's how we are getting, how we are interpreting complete the square format into your turning point coordinate.